What's up everybody, this is DeAlphaWolf here, and welcome back to Wolf Whales, a channel all about what-ifs, fanfictions, and scenario discussions. Before we begin, I just want to give a shout out to my boy Chi-Town Echo, who pointed out that I had a small spelling mistake in my last video. I really appreciate you keeping me on my toes and letting me know that. Also, if you did not see the first part, you should go check that out. I'll leave a link below in the description. There will also be a link to my gaming channel if you're interested. In the last part of our What If X-23 joined the MCU scenario, the Avengers stormed the Hydra base in Sokovia, where they had a run-in with the Maximoff twins. They also retrieved Loki's scepter and found a girl sedated in a stasis chamber. After getting the girl back to HQ and trying to wake her, she had a rather violent reaction, sending Black Widow to the ground and Cap straight through a window. So now that we're all caught up, let's get back to the story. The sound of a crash grabs Thor's attention, causing him to turn just in time to see Steve come crashing out of the medbay window. The Thunder God is confused and quickly makes his way up the stairs and over to his fallen comrade. As Thor helps him sit up, Steve groans, the wind having been knocked out of him at the sudden kick. The girl flings herself through the air at the now stunned Avengers, aiming right for Black Widow. Natasha rolls out of the way, narrowly avoiding getting hit. "Go, get out of here," she yells to the others. Bruce grabs Dr. Cho and pulls her along to assist in moving Clint, trying to keep his pulse down because the last thing he needs to do is turn to the Hulk right now. He also makes sure to grab the scepter and get to the elevator quickly before things get worse. Tony rushes out after them, running to the wall and opening up an emergency panel before pressing in a code, while Natasha stares the girl down as she breathes in and out heavily. "Easy, kid. It's alright. I don't know what Hydra did to you, but it's gonna be okay. Just calm down," and Natasha's interrupted as the girl charges at her, still roaring like an animal as she does so. Natasha, not wanting to hurt her, refuses to use her stun gauntlets and instead chooses to fight her hand to hand, but purposely avoids striking her, simply blocking or dodging. Much to her surprise, every hit that she blocks is painful, almost like she's trying to stop concrete with how much force the girl seems to be able to throw. Natasha rolls out of the way, getting behind the girl just as Thor jumps in the now broken window to see what the commotion is. The girl's attention shifts to him instantly, and she snarls at him before jumping. Thor grabs her mid-air, holding the girl's arms up over her head, preventing her from using them as well as from touching the ground.
"She's a feisty little creature,"
Thor says with a smirk. This seems to only enrage the girl more. Without any warning, the girl kicks upward, swinging forward with enough momentum to launch herself straight up and kick him in the jaw. Thor is thrown off by this, letting her go as she flips and lands back on her feet. She wastes no time tackling him back out of the window he came in, their momentum sending them crashing into a table, which is now completely dented inward. Tony rushes in, now in his armor, with Natasha flanking him on the left and Steve coming up on his right. "Alright kid, playtime's over," his voice echoes. "Don't get carried away. Remember, she's just a kid," Natasha warns. "Yeah, tell it to the guy that just got kicked from the window," he replies, nodding towards Cap. "She's right, Tony," Steve says, eyeing the girl as she turns back to them, leaving Thor dazed and bruised on the ground. "Our priority is to detain her, not to hurt her. No excessive force." "Well, maybe you should tell her that. Pretty sure she didn't get the memo." As the girl lunges again, Tony holds a hand out, shooting her with a small repulsor ray that knocks her back and into a nearby wall. "Stark!" Natasha yells. "Relax, the blast was only 10%. Besides, she's got advanced healing, so it probably didn't even hurt her." A scraping noise brings their attention back to her, and the three are stunned to see as a metal table comes flying through the air, crashing straight into Tony, who is sent backwards into another wall. "See? This is what pain looks like," he groans from under the table. As she once again comes flying at them, Steve picks up a nearby tray and uses it to block her punches as they come, one after another. This, however, comes to a halt as two long metal blades pierce it before slicing it in half like paper. Everyone looks on in shock at her right hand, which now has two long claws projecting from it, while two more slowly extend from her left hand. "Well, those definitely weren't in the files," Steve said, dropping the two halves of the tray. Before the fight can continue, Thor comes in, swinging Mjolnir and batting her away.
"I've never fought such a tiny creature that was this formidable,"
he says as Tony pushes the table off of him. Unbeknownst to the team, she's already back on her feet, but instead of attacking them, she jumps onto a nearby rafter and cuts a hole in the vent, crawling in and disappearing. This gets their attention, sending them all on high alert. We need to find her before she kills someone with those things, Widow says.
Jarvis, I need a scan.
Tony commands.
She appears to be making her way through the ventilation system quite quickly, sir. She's heading toward the upper levels,
Jarvis says. That's where Bruce and Clint are, Widow confirms. And the scepter.
Do you really believe that she would go after the scepter?
Thor asks. We can't take any chances, especially with Hydra programming in her. She's way too wild and out of control. It's almost like she's an animal. And what do caged animals want more than anything else? Freedom, which means she's trying to escape. Which also means we need to catch her and stop her before she gets loose into the city. Who knows what kind of damage she could do if she got out.
I think we all know all too well what kind of damage she could do. Jarvis, initiate lockdown protocol.
An alarm starts blaring as the doors begin to reinforce their locks and metal plates start to cover all the windows. Considering how she ripped up that tray like it was nothing, I doubt those things are going to hold her for long. A loud, frustrated roar echoes in the vents before a loud crashing could be heard. I don't think she likes the noise too much either. Then we better get a move on, Steve says. Thor, get to Banner and Barton, guard the scepter just in case. You'll be the first line of defense against her if she makes it there. The rest of us are going to head to the hangar to try to cut her off and try to come up with a plan to stop her.
I've got an idea, but it's going to take a little bit of prep work on the way,
Tony tells him. Thor nods his head, rushing out to find his fellow Avengers, while Steve grabs his shield and heads towards the hangar, Tony and Natasha following close behind. The 3 Avengers make it to the hangar just as the last security door finishes closing and locking into place, not a moment too soon either as a metal grate comes crashing to the floor, the girl not far behind it, landing right on her feet and squaring off against them. Standing up, she snarls at them as she flexes her arms out, the metal claws shooting out in an instant.
God, that's terrifying,
Tony says under his breath, taking a few steps forward. Alright, kid, enough's enough. Put the knives away and come quietly before we have to put you in timeout. The girl growls at him, picking up the metal grate and whipping it right at his head. The metal makes contact, though it barely seems to faze Tony and his armor.
Alright, that's it. You're grounded.
The girl screams, charging at them once more. Cap steps in front of Tony and uses his shield to block the oncoming slashes that the girl throws. She's confused as to why her claws aren't ripping through the metal, though keeps attacking regardless. Cap pushes her back with the shield, sending her flying backwards, though she quickly lands back on her feet like it was nothing. You really think pissing her off is a good idea? Widow asks.
I like to think of it as tough love. Besides, it's all part of the plan,
Tony replies before taking to the air, shooting a few blasts down at her. The girl is quick, avoiding and dodging blasts left and right, though never really noticing that Tony was actually pushing her back towards Black Widow. Widow runs up and slides before sweeping her feet onto the girl's, knocking her onto the ground. The girl doesn't stay down for long though, kicking back up, and, to the frightening realization of Natasha, brings out another blade, this time from her right foot. Widow pulls out 2 small batons from her belt and uses them to deflect all of the incoming attacks, though also making sure to not let the girl get too close for fear of being impaled. This only seems to anger the girl more as she swings and attacks randomly in an attempt to strike the woman before her. One of her kicks gets the better of Widow though, knocking the sticks out of her hand and leaving her without a weapon. The girl sends a swift roundhouse kick right at her in an attempt to finish this and possibly decapitate Natasha, but is intercepted by Cap, who blocks the swing with the shield and grabs her leg before she can pull it back. This doesn't sit well with her, so she rolls sideways to bring her other foot up, blade still extended, to try and cut him. Cap is able to once again use his shield to block, but this is exactly what the girl was anticipating. Retracting the blade from her foot, she pushes off of his shield, releasing the other foot and flipping backwards. Tony sees his chance and flies in, grabbing her in a bear hug. The girl begins to thrash about angrily, roaring in an attempt to break free, but Tony continues to hold tight.
Activate stun lock,
Tony commands. His suit begins to charge up, causing the girl to struggle more, though her efforts are ultimately wasted as her body is suddenly flooded with electricity, paralyzing her. The girl goes slack in his arms for a moment, which allows Tony to release her, though everyone made sure to keep their guards up still. She slumps forward on her hands and knees, her breathing hard and ragged. Tony acts quick before she can be ready to pounce again.
Jarvis! Right away, sir.
The ground opens up under her hands, yanking her forward and locking around her wrists. A loud clang rings out before the ground opens back up. As she's let go, she pulls up, finding a pair of industrial handcuffs on her. Before she can react though, Tony clamps another device around her neck, which beeps as it locks. Her claws are forced back into her hands, much to her dismay, and she begins to panic as she doesn't know what's going on or why she suddenly feels so strange. She brings her hands to the device and tries to pull it off, but before she can, Tony sprays her in the face with gas. As her vision begins to go hazy, a sudden wave of exhaustion hits her before the world goes black and she's knocked out. Everyone is still, waiting, praying that this plan actually worked, though they're still expecting her to jump back up, but are soon relieved when she doesn't. And that is how you put the kids to bed. And I think that's where we're going to end this part. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, leave a like, leave a comment on what you thought about this, as well as what you think is going to happen next, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more. And of course, I'll see you guys later. Thanks.